Y'all get ready?
Yes, you get ready.
If you want the latest news in the streets, join us and tune in for the tea. Breaking news with integrity. So tell your friends and your family. It's the Lovelyti TV show, bringing you good tea and good vibes. It's the Lovelyti TV show. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
It's been a lot of mess going on over the past few weeks with LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith. So if you guys don't know, LeBron James had confronted Stephen A. Smith at a Lakers game, maybe like 3 weeks ago, about him talking about Bronny, you know. And so Stephen A. Smith has literally been on a hobo tour. He's gone from podcast to podcast, talking about, you know, all this stuff with LeBron confronting him. And when he was on the podcast with like Gilbert Arenas and all them, I forgot the name of the podcast, but he was like talking really tough. I'm like, well, you didn't have all this smoke when LeBron was in your face, but okay, sir. And so he's been talking about it. So LeBron decided to go on Pat McAfee's YouTube page. Pat McAfee is one of the biggest sports podcasters, the most highest paid. And I think he kind of paved the way for what a lot of these analysts are now doing. He went to like the YouTube and started podcasting, you know, way before Stephen A. Smith and all them. They were more focused on television. Pat McAfee came to YouTube, so he makes a lot of money on his podcast. So LeBron James decided to take his talents to the white man's platform, and I feel like low-key Stephen A. Smith feels away. So LeBron James talked about a lot of stuff during that interview, from how he felt about like Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, but the main thing people were there for was the drama with Stephen A. Smith. And so Pat McAfee asked him about that. So we're going to watch that really quick here.
Yep.
Which leads obviously to you and Stephen A. Hey, legit, that feels like a moment that had been brewing for a long time.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're watching it.
Yep.
We're all seeing it.
Oh yeah,
we're all. You're seeing it as well.
He literally, it started off with,
We call it a hobo tour, okay? Not a hobo tour.
didn't want to address it.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to address it. I wasn't going to address it, but since the video came out, I feel the need to address it.
Yeah, on viral. You would be not to talk about it.
Are you kidding me? If there's one person that couldn't wait to the video to drop so you could address it, it's your ass. Like seriously, it's and like another. He completely like missed the whole point. The whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job, to criticize or to, you know, be in a position where, okay, if a guy's not performing, you know, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players, you know. And I think a lot of the media, including him, and I know he's gonna be happy as hell. He's gonna be smiling from ear to ear when he hears me talking about it again. Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the fucking freezer and sit in his chair in his tighty whities on the couch.
I hope at some point you two do get a chance.
Like,
but you're right.
Dude, like relax, bro. Like relax. Like seriously.
So y'all heard what, you know, King James had to say about the situation. And so, of course, that went viral. Stephen A. Smith went on a huge rant on First in the Morning on ESPN. But during that rant on ESPN, he also lied, said that LeBron James was not at Kobe Bryant's funeral, which that has been debunked years ago. He was there. The reason why he wasn't trying to make it about himself, you know, he was low-key in the back because he didn't want to make Kobe's funeral about himself, but he was there. And then he also talked about him skipping D-Wade's, you know, whatever celebration. So we're going to go ahead and listen to Stephen A. Smith's first rant.
LeBron James went on national television yesterday and lied. He said that I have no problem with you talking about the game. What did I say about Bronny James other than at the time he wasn't ready? That was it. I said nothing else. So if that's the issue, and I pointed to LeBron James and the fact that you've circumvented a meritocracy just to get your wish at the expense of the credibility of the league in a lot of people's eyes, that's talking about you. That's not talking about your son. And then he goes about the business of taking it a step further. First of all, let's understand something to the viewing public in America and beyond. This was planned. Rich Paul was on Pat McAfee's show about 10 days early or whatever. Rich Paul, for everybody that knows, is the man, the founder of Clutch Sports. He's a strategic thinker. He didn't go there by accident. You're there talking with Pat McAfee, and the next thing you know, within 2 weeks, after obviously a negotiation took place, LeBron James is on it. LeBron James went on national television yesterday. I know that the man I am today is not the man that I was a decade ago, physically or beyond. I can tell you that. So we get that out the way. Why do I bring that up? Because that's how petty you've become. You're LeBron James. You that butthurt over the things that I'm saying, that you would post that video. When has LeBron James ever done something like that? But suddenly you're doing that as it pertains to me. This man is in his feelings. I wonder why. Could it be because I don't believe you're the GOAT? Because I'll never believe you're the GOAT? Because I have you number 2 at all times? Do I have to have ESPN and First Take put up the ticker tape right now and say, yo, could you put that up there, please? Great father, great husband, great philanthropist, great businessman, great director, great producer, great host, great basketball player, great leader. I mean, my God, I have done everything but put diapers and a bib on this brother. I know that the man I am today is not the man around pouting. Why would he be pouting? The man is 22. He is universally recognized as the Mount Rushmore of basketball. He is unquestionably one of the greatest players to have ever played basketball. I have him top 2. Stab me in the chest. Crucify me. Throw me in jail. Of the thousands upon thousands of players who have played in NBA history, I have this man number 2 overall in the history of basketball, despite Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being a 19-time All-Star. Around pouting. Why would he be a 6-time champion, a 6-time league MVP? It was the greatest, the most trusted move, offensive move in NBA history with the skyhook. I still had him ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's not enough. So much so that you go this route. It's very unfortunate that he has done this. It's very unfortunate that he has tried to ostracize me amongst the NBA community and the sports world and beyond, talking about how I talk about I'm pooping on the players and all of this other stuff. They don't bring up all the time we praise the players. I applaud them when they win. I criticize them when they're messing up in an effort to make sure that you don't do it again. I'm not wishing anybody to fail, but I have to call it how I see it, because I have an audience to answer to.
So this is him talking about LeBron not coming to the front.
I suggest that he be happy with the things that I haven't brought up. I never brought up really and never really discussed why you were not at Kobe Bryant's memorial service. I never really brought up or discussed why you did not attend Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame induction when that man was directly responsible for you capturing a championship for the first time in your career. I brought up none of that. I didn't bring up the fact that even though when people had asked, you had alluded to what had happened tragically to your son, and thank God he's okay with his heart condition. I didn't bring up the fact that even though you couldn't go to the Hall of Fame induction of Dwayne Wade weeks earlier, you were out of the country on business. I didn't bring that up. That's your personal business, okay? But the fact is, you wasn't at the Hall of Fame induction of a brother that's going to drastically assist to you being a Hall of Famer, because he helped you become the champion that you are, and he was a big brother to you. I brought up none of these things. But LeBron James, at the end of the day, wants to come at me, and he's walking around pouting. Why would he be pouting? The man is 22. He is universally recognized as the Mount Rushmore of basketball. He is unquestionably one of the greatest players to have ever played basketball. I have him top 2. Stab me in the chest. Crucify me. Throw me in jail. Of the thousands upon thousands of players who have played in NBA history, I have this man number 2 overall in the history of basketball, despite Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being a 19-time All-Star.
All right. He just be talking. So that was in the morning, right? On ESPN. And so a lot of people started going at him like, first of all, why are you lying on him and saying that he wasn't at Kobe's funeral? Because he was there. So you could tell he was taking a lot of personal shots at LeBron. You can tell he definitely felt a way about, everything that played out. Then he goes on to his podcast the next day, and he goes off. And he goes on like an hour-long tirade. We're not going to watch a whole hour. We're going to listen to some clips from his podcast. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and listen to this.
It wasn't about the problem that LeBron had, about his son. It was LeBron having a problem and finally finding an excuse to do what he always wanted to do, which was confront me in an unfortunate and public platform. I'm not going to go as far as I want to go in saying how weak that stuff is in terms of how he confronted me. I would have waited. I got nothing to say to him now. We'll probably never speak in life again. But if he wanted, I wish he had the shop. I wish he invited me on. Not my platform, his platform. You can't defend the stuff that he's done. You have no idea. But he knows I know. We want to go there, let's go there. Slithering and just through stuff and always with the two-faced nonsense. Y'all don't know the half. Y'all don't know. So when he went on Pat McAfee's show earlier today, it was no surprise. The show that comes on after First Take. The show that stars me. I know that you got a new podcast coming out with Steve Nash. No surprise there. JJ Redick, Steve Nash. No surprise. Got the podcast coming out. Definitely want to promote that basketball podcast. And we should watch it. We should learn because LeBron knows more basketball than most people forgot. Just like he said to Pat McAfee. His mind. He thinks the game. Most of these people rely on their athleticism and their talents and their skill. Father's a father's a father. Because I said, as a father, I stand by that. Not because he's Bronny's father. I stand by it because he was the one putting everything on public display. We didn't have to know that he didn't care about, I'm sorry. We did not have to know that he was willing to go someplace else practically for free. We did not have to know that it was not about the money. We did not have to hear him say, you want me, draft Bronny. We did not have to hear him say, my son is better than half the players or some of the players in the NBA right now before he ever played an NBA game. You did that. That was LeBron James who did that. He wasn't asked that. He wasn't asked his level of culpability in all of this. He goes on there and he talks smack. Cool, I got it. I got it. So it is what it is. I did not know we were being videoed at courtside. He was walking out of a timeout. I did not know initially that after he finished getting in my face, he looked right up at the camera. Go back and look at the angle. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. When I went on the air the next morning, we had a morning meeting, at which time I said to the staff at First Take, I don't feel like talking about this. And then minutes later, they said it's the number one trending topic in sports. You have to talk about it. The bosses, you have to talk about it. What do you mean you ain't talking about it? This is what you do. This is sports. This is a sports story, and it directly involves you. What you mean you ain't talking about it? So he might think I'm salivating and I was happy to discuss it. I'm not happy to discuss a dude getting in my face, telling me stop shitting on his son.
If you weren't happy to discuss it, why did you continue to go on a hobo tour discussing it over and over again? You were just as happy. Like, quit fronting. This was gold for him.
I would have gotten my ass kicked because had that man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately. That I'm not going to tolerate. It wasn't about the problem that...
I want y'all to listen to that ending one more time.
So he might think I'm salivating and I was happy to discuss it. I'm not happy to discuss a dude getting in my face, telling me stop shitting on his son. I would have gotten my ass kicked because had that man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately. That I'm not going to tolerate.
All right, let me come on here. So y'all just heard what Stephen A. Myth had to say. What is kind of bothersome is in the history of commentary, I've never heard a commentator say something like, if he would have swung on me, I would immediately swung on him. Imagine if like one of the white male commentators said that about a black athlete. You know, people would have looked at it like, what kind of racist shit is this? Like, you know damn well that LeBron was not going to swing on you. It's like he's trying to push this out there as if LeBron was coming to like physically attack him. This is my issue, right, with Stephen A. Smith. Now, let's go back to the whole Bronny thing. What I don't like is when everything was coming out with LeBron saying that, you know, Bronny was one of, like, he was better than guys in the league. Now, he was hyping up his son, right? I guess, as you should. It was YouTubers. It was regular sports commentators on YouTubers. People who sit in their bedroom who were calling out the BS, who were saying Bronny's not ready. Look at his stats from high school. He's not ready for the league. LeBron is just doing this as an ego thing. This is what, and I was saying it myself on my platform. And I don't even have like a sports page, but I keep up with sports. I was saying it, but, you know, there's way bigger, you know, black male sportscasters, you know, they have their own YouTube channels who were saying this, right? So what I don't like is that a lot of times the mainstream media will watch what, like, you know, what you want to call the little people, the little commentators. They'll watch people like us and see what the vibe is on social media and then switch their stance, because initially Stephen A. Smith was team LeBron, team Bronny. He was never talking about Bronny's stats, Bronny not being, you know, ready for the league. He was holding back a lot. And that's what I didn't like, is that when it was just regular commentators on YouTube calling this shit for what it was, they were seen as haters. Oh, y'all just don't want LeBron to win. You're trying to, you know, not support a black man and his son. And it had nothing to do with that. He was not up to par. He was drafted 55th, and he really shouldn't have been drafted at all. Let's keep it a buck. We all know that LeBron pulled his weight and his status to get Bronny there with the Lakers. We all know that was a nepotism pull. And remember, Stephen A. Smith was the main one co-signing it. Oh, it don't matter. You got all these sports analysts. They got their sons, you know what I'm saying, doing sports analysts. They got their sons being coaches, you know. He was supporting it. Let's clock that T. Do y'all remember that? Put a teacup if y'all remember him. He was supporting it. He was pulling up the nepotism thing. White men, you know, they have their white sons, you know, in the league. Football coaches under nepotism. There's nothing wrong with LeBron James doing it. It wasn't until Bronny's, he wasn't doing good on the Lakers. He was not doing good in the court. And so now he couldn't front anymore. Bronny's game was not up to par. But you know who was keeping it real from jump? It was the YouTubers. It was the little people keeping it real. So once people were like, you know what? I'm not watching these mainstream commenters because they're full of shit. They see what's going on. They don't want to call it for what it is. And so most people started watching the YouTube commentators on sports because they were keeping it real. They were keeping up with the stats. They were keeping it honest. And I'm not saying that they were losing views like that because he's on ESPN. He's going to get views clearly. But it was a lot of competition because the YouTubers were keeping it real. Once they seen that they were losing viewership and people were dragging them on social media, like y'all are whack, y'all are covering up for LeBron, y'all are covering up for Bronny, then he slowly started changing his tune. Am I lying? That's what bothers me with this whole situation, because he's acting like he was standing on business from day one when no the fuck you were not. You were not standing on business. You were not calling out LeBron. You were not calling out Bronny until people stopped even, listening to your take on it because it was so full of shit. It wasn't until the regular man and woman who were into sports were calling it out on YouTube and their clips were going viral and their clips were getting more views that then all these other professional basketball players, professional commentators then started changing their tune against LeBron. So to me, it's disingenuous. Okay? Stephen A. Smith to me is nothing more than, he's coming off like a shock jock. At this point in time, all I'm seeing from ESPN and Stephen A. Smith's podcast is clout chasing. That's what I'm seeing. All the snapping, bringing up dirt, making up lies. And again, I'm not coming on here like some huge LeBron fan. Y'all know I have held LeBron accountable. I've called out the whole LeBron and Bronny situation. So I don't really have a dog in this fight, but I just feel like I see the bullshit for what it is. What ESPN and Stephen A. Smith are trying to do, what they've been doing, they are in competition with regular podcasters, okay? As regular commentators on YouTube, we don't have a big overhead. We don't have a whole team to pay. We don't have, the lighting. We don't have the sound guy. It's just us. So we get our bag. But with ESPN, their views are down. They have a lot of people to pay. So now we have to really get in the mud. It's not even so much his beef with LeBron. If you really look at this deeper, he's beefing with other, this is them against other commentators on YouTube. They're trying to snatch that viewership and bring it back to ESPN, bring it to Stephen A. Smith's podcast. And how do you do that? Beefing. They're literally trying to turn this into like how Kendrick Lamar, the Drake situation. They're trying to snatch viewership away because their viewership, not that it was, horrible, but they're definitely losing viewers to regular people on YouTube, and they don't like that. Corporate is not what it once was. And to me, Stephen A. Smith is the perfect pawn to do this. He's always been brought in to create dissension against black players. Let's keep that real. He's been doing this from day one. There was a level of professionalism back in the day with ESPN when you had like Stuart Scott and other people. Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless were brought in to be agents of chaos. Skip Bayless has trolled LeBron James since he was a shorty in high school, coming into the league. These are people who are failed basketball players. From what Jason Whitlock, his big ass expose, Stephen A. Smith never even played basketball. I think he played for like a short time. He made up a whole entire team. Nope, there's no receipts that Stephen A. Smith did anything in college. But he has all these critique for these black men coming into the league. And he's been doing this for a while. And the thing that's bothersome is it's okay to give your opinion. It's okay to critique. But what I've noticed with him, it gets very personal when he comes to talking about the black players. I have not forgotten, how he treated Kyrie Irving. Can we clock that, T? Him and Uncle Shay Shay. All because Kyrie did not want the C-19 shot, they drugged that man for the filth. Called him everything but a child of God. I ain't forgot. And then when Kyrie was going into the playoffs and it was cool again to support him, they want to act like they're Team Kyrie now. They didn't drag the white players who didn't want the C-19 shot as hard as they drug Kyrie. Even LeBron. Remember, I clocked LeBron's tea on that shit. That's what really made me fall back from LeBron, because I used to be a real big LeBron fan, but I'm like, okay, you just gonna go wherever the wind blows. So you just gonna blast Kyrie and, talk all this shit over some Jewish book, the Jewish movie, and it wasn't even really about the Jews. He posted a link to an Amazon thing and you just threw him under the bus. But then in the same breath, you'll sit here and big up this fucking serial killer, King Von. You're working out to King Von's music. When King Von died, you're giving him homage. Why? So you can promote Black Death, a black serial killer, to young black men who look up to you, but then you're going to drag Kyrie Irving? Do y'all remember me dragging LeBron James for that? So again, I'm not coming on here as some LeBron James dick writer. I'm calling it out on both sides. To me, Stephen A. Smith is an agent of chaos. And he's doing all of this for viewership. Even the few times I've watched him, he's becoming more conservative. He might as well just put on a MAGA hat at this point. He's definitely playing into a certain base. Didn't he interview Ben Shapiro the other day? I seen that thumbnail. I'm not watching that video because I can't stand Ben Shapiro. So I'm like, what is this really about? I'm even seeing the comments now. It's more like conservative white people in the comments. They're loving this shit because they want to bring LeBron James down a notch. LeBron James has his faults, but you still got to give him props. This man has been in the league for years. He is 40 plus, still playing in the NBA. He done outplayed a lot of people. And now they're hinting that he might be on, the juice and just whatever else because they don't never want to give that man his props. It's always something. And I get LeBron's frustration. They stay dragging him. And for him, his son was the last straw. But LeBron James has to take ownership for his son getting dragged. You overhyped your son, bruh. Your son was not that good. You overhyped him. And that was LeBron's fault. Gilbert Arenas' son is in the NBA. He didn't say a peep. He's allowing his son to build his own legacy. Carmelo Anthony's son, he'll be drafted soon. Carmelo is not out here saying, oh, my son can out-hoop. Carmelo's just letting Cayenne, I think that's his name, build his own legacy, as he should. LeBron was doing too much. You was adding too much sauce onto Bronny, and he's doing good now in the G League, but that don't mean shit. You said he was playing better than NBA players in the NBA now. That's where you got to take ownership. You hyped that up, and it ended up being a bust. And I'm sure he'll come back in the future and do a better job. But LeBron has to take ownership for how he hyped up his son. And I get supporting your kids. You know what I'm saying? But you don't want to overhype them up. Because he does not have LeBron James skills. Like the skills that LeBron James had at his level, at his age, Bronny doesn't have that. And that's okay. But I think he put too much pressure, and that's why people are attacking, because he didn't just let it play out. So to me, it comes out very disingenuous when Stephen A. Smith is acting like he's been calling this out. No, you wasn't, my guy. You was not. You started calling it out once you felt the waters were safe to call it out. Once the YouTubers were calling it out. Then you try to come and circle back and call out LeBron. But initially it was team nepotism. I haven't forgotten. So to me, I feel like at the end of the day, he does have personal issues with LeBron James. And I think part of why the NBA have become unwatchable outside of the players not really playing as much, players just, oh, I'm sad. My knee hurts. I need a mental break. Outside of all the bullshit and them just constantly want to throw three-pointers, I think the reason why it's also become unwatchable and the reason why these players are scared to play is because, one, everybody has a soapbox. But you have people like Stephen A. Smith constantly tearing down these black male athletes. I have to keep it real. Who wants to put in the work, the time, and the energy and the wear and tear on their bodies to just be constantly just picked apart? Show me the white commentator who is covering hockey, who tears apart the hockey players when they make mistakes. They'll give their opinion, but they're not tearing them down. They're not making it personal. When you see them giving commentary on white football players, they're just talking about, the ability. They're not bringing up a bunch of other stuff. But when it comes to the black players, it's a little bit of their score. Oh, they missed a shot. Then let's go ahead and talk about their tweets, their personal life. So I think at this point, a lot of these players are scared to play because they have social media and commentators so much on their head. Whereas back in the day with Jordan and all them, they didn't have to deal with social media and all these opinions. We had opinions on the game, but that was in our fucking living room. We couldn't just tweet Michael Jordan and cuss him out and, talk down to him and pick on him and bully him. A lot of these players are being devalued because of the commentary by Stephen A. Smith and others online. They're constantly being picked apart. And I'm not saying that some of them don't deserve it. Don't get me wrong. Because some of these players are lazy and they're not giving their all. They're missing too many games, too many mental health breaks. Not for what the fuck y'all are getting paid to do. Y'all are making way more money than the ones who came before you. But yet y'all are taking days off. We're buying NBA tickets to come see, y'all don't forget nothing. Y'all know that. We're buying these tickets to come see and support y'all. And then you go and half the star athletes, they're out. They're not playing. Back in the day, Kobe played through injuries. Michael Jordan played through injuries because they knew that somebody bought their kid a ticket. They're bringing them to the game. They're coming to see them. They are the face of the NBA. We're not coming to see the bench warmers. We want to see Mike. So I think there's a lot of blame to go around in this situation, but Stephen A. Smith is definitely milking this situation. He's definitely loving the attention. He's definitely feeling a way that LeBron James won't come on his show, won't allow him to come on LeBron's show, and that he gave that interview to Pat McAfee. He doesn't like it. He feels a way. Because don't forget, he was ranting about Pat McAfee making more money than him when they had renewed his contract. Oh, he was going in about that. But now he's been signed to a $100 million deal. So you think ESPN is going to give Stephen A. Smith a $100 million deal and they don't expect him to bring in more viewership? They have to make that money back. So if they can milk this LeBron thing, they're going to do that. At this point, it's not professional commentary. It's shock jock behavior. He is in competition with social media commentators. When I watch him now, he might as well just be a YouTuber. That's how a lot of these guys are coming off. There's no professionalism. There's no journalism behind what they're doing. They're cursing, they're carrying on. Oh, if he would have, even stepped to me, we would have threw hands. Who talks like that? And you're professional journalism. I expect that from people like me and you and YouTubers. I didn't go to school for this shit, so what you see is what you get. But who talks like that and you're tied into ESPN? They're allowing that because they want that drama. They want people to come because they've been kind of fledgling. One thing that all of these people need to remember, and I'm not just talking about the Stephen A. Smith, but I'm also talking about the YouTube commentary, just people who do commentary in general, you have to have respect for the subjects that you're covering. There has to be a level of respect. You can't just tear people down. You can have opinions about their behavior. I have opinions about people's behaviors, but you never heard me just sit there and drag people, drag their kids, wish them death, send my fans to go attack people. I don't need to hit below the belt. You can give your commentary and be professional with it. Because at the end of the day, you're making money off of these people. If it wasn't for these athletes, you wouldn't have a topic to talk about and you wouldn't be getting a check. So put a little bit of respect on their name. You were able to get that $100 million deal because of a LeBron James, because of these black men that you've tore down over the years. Because remember, a few years ago when he went in on that white lady, they suspended him for like 2 days. ESPN, I forgot who was the white lady he went in on. They suspended. He had to come back and apologize. This was a few years ago. I don't forget shit. Yep, 2014. He's suspended for a week over domestic violence speech. It had to do with Ray Rice. Stephen A. Smith suspended a week over domestic violence speech. Remember, they say here, First Take suggested that women might provoke men into assaulting them, specifically over the Ray Rice domestic violence. And so it drew criticism from ESPN colleagues, including Michelle Beadle. After the backlash, Stephen A. Smith apologized for his remarks in a taped segment on ESPN, stating he failed to articulate his view properly. See, what they're not going to do is allow him to ever disrespect white women. I don't know if y'all remember that. So he can go in on Kyrie Irving. He can drag LeBron James. He can go in on, Bronny. They're not going to ever allow him to disrespect a white woman. Because his co-host, the white lady, was real upset, the Michelle. But yeah, he was suspended for that. For a week. So ESPN, they know what they're doing. It's always cool to attack your own, but don't get out of line. Don't get spicy and come for one of theirs. I'm not impressed by his rant and rave. Because like I said, I'd be more impressed if he had that stance from day one. You don't get to bite off of YouTubers and then, try and come off like a YouTuber now, months later. And now LeBron is fake and you didn't like him and he's mad because you prefer Jordan being your first. You didn't say all that months ago. You were riding for LeBron months ago. You were riding for Bronny months ago. Us YouTubers, we had enough common sense to look at the stats and say, this is not going to work out the way that LeBron James thinks it's going to work out. And we were right. Hence why Bronny's now at the G League playing. Because he had no business being in the NBA. I mean, just think about it. For y'all who don't understand what I'm saying, imagine, right, for the girls, who don't watch sports. Let me break it down. Okay, so let's say you own your own shop, right? You know how to slay hair, slay wigs or whatever. And you're telling everybody, I've been teaching my daughter how to do hair. She can, slay hair. She can do wigs. She can do whatever. And then, your daughter starts working at your shop, but she's fucking up everybody's hair. The wigs are not being slayed. She's not doing a good job. Customers are complaining. So, to save face, you send her to beauty school to go get further training. That's basically what LeBron did. He sent his son back to the G Leagues to get further training on his skills, to get his skills up to par, because he was not ready for the NBA. Anybody with common sense saw this. Same thing. That's like bragging on your child's abilities and they're fucking up everybody's hair in the shop. And then you decide to send them to beauty school. So, just in case, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like somebody, the lace is lifting. She don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? She don't know how to slay the hair. Can't dye. People's hair is falling out. That's basically what LeBron did. Sent him back to school. So people are going to have opinions, right? Bronny is an NBA player. He doesn't get to be absolved of people having opinions, people calling out his stats. And LeBron is upset because, again, it's a reflection of LeBron because LeBron spent so much time bragging on Bronny's abilities. So that is on LeBron James. But people have the right to hold your son accountable and talk about his stats like anybody else. They did the same thing for LaMelo, Lonzo, for anybody else's child. Once you are an NBA player, people have the right to, look at your stats and call out what they want to call out. But I also believe that it's the way that you go about it. There also has to be a respect factor. So, yeah, I just wasn't impressed with his rant and rave. I'm glad that analogy helped some of y'all out because y'all was sounding confused. Like, what's the G League? So I'm glad that kind of helped y'all out. So yeah, I just wasn't impressed, by that. I just felt like he was doing a lot of showboating for his white executives at ESPN because they got to make that money back. So it's gonna be interesting to to see what comes of this, to see if LeBron ends up replying. If I was LeBron, I wouldn't even reply back. Next, I would just focus on my game and keep doing me. But to say that, I would have swung on LeBron. That's just ghetto. Let's just keep that real. Would he have said that if that was a white athlete? He know damn well LeBron wasn't coming to fight him. You think he's going to fight you in the middle of an arena with cameras? He knew damn well that wasn't what LeBron was on. But again, showboating, trying to talk tough, doing too much. Damn near sticky. He don't want that smoke from LeBron, child.
You want the latest news in the streets? Join us and tune in for the tea. Breaking news with integrity. So tell your friends and your family. It's the Lovelyti TV show. Bringing you good tea and good vibes. It's the Lovelyti TV show. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe.